With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Hello and welcome back to our, I think final coverage of Summer Games Fest. This is the prototype right here at thisweekingeek.net. I think this is day 5, spread over the course of a week and a half or so of recordings. And I am Alex, the producer, here with our co-host for our journey into, I guess, the state of gaming halfway through the year / what we can look forward to / what the fuck overall. With what was going on with Summer Game Fest, E3, Jeff Fest, whatever you want to call it. That's right. I'm joined with our compatriots, Birdman. How you doing, buddy?
Yawn. I have thoughts. Very, very subdued thoughts, but I have thoughts.
And over in the America land, we have our buddy Ken.
Yep. And I mean, overall, there's some good, there's a lot of bad, and there's just a lot of mediocre.
This was a very it was a B. Like, I would give a rating as a B for the whole event.
I'd say maybe a high C. I'd say maybe a C, and if you're being really fucking generous, a C+. This is so boring this year. Outside of one or two surprise announcements for me, I was like,
I think it's a B.
This could have been an email. I was so unimpressed. You know what I mean?
I think it was a B though overall, because there were going to be games in here and over the course of every showcase that we saw that would appeal to, certain people. Like, for me, if it wasn't for a lot of the stuff that was shown at the indies, it would be a C or a D. There was that whole indie RPG showcase that I watched that was great. There were some flashes of brilliance in some of the others. To be honest, I wasn't super impressed with the accessibility one this year, only because a lot of the stuff, like, I guess it's a sign of the times, and it's good that a lot of the things that we had to watch out for and were championing, in the past, have now become so commonplace and implemented that there isn't as much of a, surprise and wonder as to, like, what's new in the accessibility space. So, like, there's been great progress there. But outside of that, like, there was a lot of cool stuff shown, and I think I would tend to agree with you, Mike. It's probably a C if we only counted things that were brand new revealed.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of, like, big wow factor this year. For me, honestly, there were two thinking, I really want that, one wow factor, and that was unexpected. And, like, we kind of put together lists of, like, anywhere between 3 and 5 things that really wowed us, an honorable mention, and then, like, stuff like, that's weird, we didn't see that.
I guess we can sort of just go around, like, and there's going to be some overlap. If there's overlap, we'll just, I'll be like, that was on my list too, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to start things off just because I'm probably the hardest person to impress in the room right now. And I think I think that comes from covering this medium since 2007. I've been through a lot. I've attended certain things. I've never been to E3, but I've been to Jeff Fest Jeff's award show in December when there was the Game Awards out in LA back in 2009, 2010. I went. So I've been around the block a few times. Plus, I do a lot of radio coverage. So this year, Alex had asked me to put together some things like, what were your it titles? And I got 5 that really jumped out at me. The first one for me was Scott Pilgrim EX. And as I talked about in the previous
that's on my list too.
Yeah, I was like, that's unexpected. I mean, Scott Pilgrim is an IP that is weirdly in my life. I met Brian Lee O'Malley earlier this year. Oddly enough, I fixed his glasses. Aren't I cool? And I was like, okay,
you never
cool.
know. You could be in the game. You don't even know.
Yeah, I know, right? That fat guy in chair. But it was like, okay, this is awesome. I'm glad they're keeping the IP alive because I felt the Scott Pilgrim Netflix series, you either loved it or hated it. But in video games, everybody can universally agree this was awesome. Limited Run Games did a thing, and that's one of the few Limited Run Games limited editions that I actually own and I have not opened. So that was very cool. I'm super happy to see that happen. The next one came earlier in the presentations, and that was Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. That is important for several reasons. Number one, some of these games have been locked to previous hardware generations. We know we're going to get some of the 3D ones, but it's important to remember when Mortal Kombat Reboot came out, there were console exclusive characters, most notably with Freddy Krueger and Kratos. But it also started the beginning of the Reboot storyline, and that you have to either own the cart or not the cart, the disc, or you have to previously own a Steam copy because it's been delisted. So if they include this game, then that's very important for game preservation. But if you want to keep the storyline,
they're gonna do. I from what I can tell, they're gonna do pre-reboot timelines.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah, it'll go all the way up to Armageddon. I think they'd be stupid to not include the MK reboot personally, but that's an awful lot of value to ask.
If I had to guess, it will be everything up to PS2, maybe. It'll be iffy as to whether or not it's actually including all the PS2 stuff or right before the PS2 stuff.
I think they're going to give us up to Armageddon, which means if they wanted to do an MK Legacy Collection 2, then we would get
the rest.
Yeah, then you would get Reboot, MK9, or sorry, MK10, MK11, and then that's its own separate collection, and then Mortal Kombat 1 is its own thing, and then whenever we get the rest of the NetherRealm stuff. Now, that being said, it would be really cool if they gave us a collection that included Injustice 1 and 2, MK versus DC, and hey, who knows? Like I said, there are options for this. People want it. Because, like, I could give a shit less about the Game Boy and Game Gear ports,
which is what I would actually want to play because I actually had those.
They're fucking terrible. But it's like,
they're
okay,
bad, but
yeah, you know what? They are a lot worse.
It's for a let's try this for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I have Vietnam flashbacks to the Game Gear one.
Yeah, same here. I actually played that in line when Mortal Kombat 1, the movie, came out in 1995.
Oh god,
That's how I played it.
The only good Game Boy fighting game was Killer Instinct.
It's okay.
And by good, I mean functional,
actually playable.
And I played a lot of it, like a lot. Yes, they had stripped down characters, but like I remember thinking that the Game Boy copy of Killer Instinct was so much better than the Mortal Kombat on Game Gear, which had color. You know, a little kid you would think would be like, oh, you know, color's better. No, it was quite clear.
Yeah, no.
Better.
The other thing that I felt was worth my attention was Felt That, which is that weird Muppet boxing game. That looks weird. That looks fun.
I think that's on all our lists.
Yeah, that looks fucking fantastic. Want to know more about it. Hopefully we'll see more sooner as opposed to later.
Everybody thought that it was like, is it an FMV game? No. Those are completely created in an engine. It's just using like very tight controls on. They're not rendering like things out in the distance. You're basically rendering a boxing ring with like almost nothing around it. So all of the processing power can be just on the character.
Yeah, like it looks pretty neat. So I'm looking forward to that. My final one that I'm super looking forward to is No Ghosts at the Grand, because it's so weird. I dig the vibe. I dig the general aesthetic of it. I guess honorable mentions for this: Marvel Cosmic. It looks fucking great. That looks cool.
Yeah.
I guess that Clockwork Revolution.
And
again,
that's what I put on my, because that's also like clearly a next year or maybe even later game.
Yeah, like I wish they toned down the hey, look at us, we're fucking funny and quirky bullshit. But whatever. And now what we didn't see. I've got a couple of these. One I literally just thought about as we're recording, but I think it's important to mention, is we didn't see any announcement of Metal Gear Solid Collection 2. And considering we still don't have Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots on modern hardware is a fucking tragedy.
I will say Konami announced that they're doing something in July that includes MGS Delta and Silent Hill and they've said there's more announcements that they're going to announce there.
And so, they did out of nowhere.
My guess.
Was it this past week? They just announced that Bloober Team's doing a remake of Silent Hill 1,
which everyone knew was happening. Basically,
yeah.
They sort of they knew, because if they made
they officially announced it, but so everyone knew it was happening.
So I know that people are thinking it's going to be, there might be announcing something with
so many options. Why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Castlevania as well.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool. I mean, like, I like the Castlevania collections. Hell, if we could get the Lords of Shadows games properly ported. Hell, you really want to surprise me? Give me that Wii Shop exclusive Castlevania game on modern hardware.
That's the one people have been asking for.
That'd be pretty cool.
But, people are asking for it, and you know what's going to happen? They're going to throw up the logo. It'll be Switch 2. People are going to go, oh my God. And then it's going to be Judgment.
See, I'd be okay if they ported that, actually. I would really like that.
But it'll be like, we know you've been asking for it. And they'll be like, oh my God, it's Judgment. Or even worse. It'll be like, it'll show Nintendo Switch 2, and then it will, be like, oh my God. And it's going to be the 2 N64 game.
You know what? If they found a way to fix those, I would be okay.
You're just asking Konami to fix things?
At this point, just, you know what? Just give me a taste. I'm fine with it. Things we didn't see. And again, to continue along this thread, some of this I mentioned in the previous episode, but I'll mention it again here because it's worth mentioning. As a Fallout fan, we know Fallout Season 2 is coming in December. Again, we've now seen the first teaser from Amazon Studios. Looks awesome. Cool. I'm not surprised, but surprised. Every year there's the joke in the Fallout community, Fallout 3 remaster, take my money. And nothing Fallout outside of a expansion for Fallout 76, Gone Fission. Lame. Honestly, but then again, we also speculated if they really wanted to print money, they would shadow drop. Oh, by the way, Fallout New Vegas remaster, day and date with Season 2 of Amazon's Fallout.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. we didn't hear anything from Halo, and there was a tease on some of the official Halo channels at one point this year saying, hey, we've got something. Halo Infinite seasons have been continuously winding down. There was some new content done recently, but nothing that would, raise my skirt, so to speak.
There's massive rumors going around that they're porting Infinite to PlayStation.
Yeah, and that's something else too. I'm actually very surprised they didn't do something, say, by the way, guys, we're going to give you the Master Chief. The fight continues elsewhere, and they're going to port Master Chief Collection to another environment.
Isn't the anniversary next year?
Something like that. So that's when we'll see probably something
next year.
So probably Master Chief Collection on Switch 2, which would be pretty cool.
Or
that's an easy port.
Or a ground up remake of the original with a new engine.
And they're going to reboot the storyline, which again, if handled properly, could be good. We'll see. Last two things from me. There's nothing on Elder Scrolls 6 that I saw. Again, I know it's like 10 years out.
6 years out.
But we did see a teaser a couple years ago.
Yeah, they announced that game, I think, 10 years before it was coming out because they announced it with like e-art.
Yeah, which again, cool. But again, I guess we just got the Oblivion remaster. You know what? It would have been awesome if they said, hey guys, mod tools officially coming September. They say they're not going to mod it. They're going to mod it.
And they're also like, they're not the kind of company that's going to go back and remake Arena or Daggerfall because those are too archaic.
They could do Daggerfall, or Morrowind.
You're much more likely to see Morrowind.
For sure.
Like a complete not like they did here, a complete remake of Morrowind because it's a much smaller game.
Yeah, right? And they could do it in the Skyrim engine, and people would be fine with it. I mean, whatever. And then final thing, Alex will probably have more to say about this than me. Considering, again, this kind of ties into something. Actually, I'll probably mention this when Alex is at Turd or Treasure later this week. The Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy sets. That's a pretty big deal. I'm actually very surprised we didn't see anything significant for Final Fantasy related anything. It would have been cool just to see key art for the last Final Fantasy 7, whatever the hell that's going to be called.
Sony has rights to show the
exclusive
remix.
Yeah. Again, I'm kind of surprised we didn't see
Sony.
We will not see that at Gamescom. It's not a big enough event, even though Gamescom is the biggest trade show. But
if we see something this year, it'll be at Game Awards.
Yeah, it won't even be TGS anymore. The only way that they would do it is if like there was some emergency reason why they had to run their own and Square Enix did their own live event again, like they used to do. They haven't done that.
Yeah.
They remember it was like
2
or 3 years ago. They announced they were going to do one, and then just like a week before said, "Sorry, we're not going to do it anymore." Like it was right when their like CEO was stepping down and everything. Like,
well, then it was fucking awkward when they did it too. Like I remember the energy in that room being, "What the fuck are you doing?" sort of thing.
The only time that they were trying to recapture what they had in 2019 when they did did they do it? That was when they did the reveal of, like, they had their own E3 conference, and it was like in that old traditional theater, and it was the really good one where they showed off Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah,
that one was hype, and they never were able to recapture that again after the pandemic hit.
Oh yeah, because I think after that, I think they announced that weird game they did called The Quiet Man, and all of us were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
That game was what the fuck. But yeah, like that's mostly what I saw there. I mean, we talked, if you want to go back and check out our other coverage, what were some of the things we saw, sort of like the Invincible fighting game. Cool, I guess. Sure.
Like a lot of that,
it's being done by the XKI devs.
Yeah, so that's something to look forward to. But like this year, if I really had to summarize it, I glanced. Oh, okay. Here's an example, and it's gonna sound terribly sexist. Fuck off. This was the equivalent of me seeing someone really attractive in public. I glance, go, they're cute, and I look back. That's about how much attention this entire thing gave me. I was just like, And that sucks. I used to be really excited, but I think I've just become burned out on this industry as a whole.
You are forgetting one thing. I'm surprised you didn't put it in your list.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel Token.
You see, again, old man yells at Cloud and Sephiroth. The Marvel stuff, give me Marvel versus Capcom. I'd rather have that than any other
That's never happening ever again.
I wouldn't say that.
There's still rumors that Marvel vs. Capcom 5 is actually happening.
Now you really want to blow
but it's early.
Now you really want to impress my ass. I know Capcom Fighting Collection just came out literally weeks ago. I would love it to say, all right, guys, we know you've been asking for it for a while. And it just says Evo, main stage, last day, and it's just a day and date. You just show that. And you hear Japanese voices, and you have a very distinctive call out to a super. What am I alluding to? They're finally say, well, guys, we're working on Marvel Capcom or Marvel Fighting Collection 3 or whatever the fuck it's going to be called.
Yeah.
And that voice sample comes from Tatsunoko versus Capcom.
That's the last. Those are the last ones they need to bring.
The real question is, would they be able to do it in that package, or would Tatsunoko require them release it as a separate?
I think it could be in the same package because look at the Marvel stuff, right? And Marvel holds a lot more sway now than Tatsunoko does.
It's about how Japanese anime lawyers are.
Yeah, and that's what it's gonna come down to. I mean, I think it'd be great for us to get a port because there's even rumors for years that Xbox Live Arcade was gonna get a port.
This is probably it's a possibility now. What if they resurrect the Tekken Street Fighter crossover?
See, I would love that because that game has gotten more refinement over the years. As long as they figure a way to rebalance or take out that fucking gem system.
Wasn't it supposed to be 2 of them and then the second one didn't come out, like the reverse?
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Now that'd be fucking great. I mean, I'd love to see it. If anything, just to hear that Black Tide Honest Eyes, which is one of the best theme songs the Street Fighter series has ever had. Hell, if they ever do a Capcom Fighting Collection 3, you port the Street Fighter EX games. I know they're fucking terrible, but if you gave me Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, and you gave me a port of Street Fighter 5, because it's been out long enough.
You know what? You're right. I think the EX stuff, isn't that Eureka that has the rights to that or something?
It's something fucking silly.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like if they were doing that, it would be like Tatsunoko, the EX titles, and then I guess I forget if there were any ones on like the PSP or something.
There was the PSP version of Street Fighter 3 Alpha, but we basically got that. The only one we're missing is I really think it's the Street Fighter 3 Alpha from the PSP. That's the only one we're missing because it's missing a few features that aren't included in Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper. That's pretty much it. And
so
again,
basically the 3D fighters that they don't have the rights to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that and Tatsunoko and Street Fighter 4. It's been long enough. You might as well re-release. Yeah, and Tekken. And hell, if they really wanted to, buff this thing up, you put Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Capcom Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Infinite, and then you have everything.
Have they done the Mega Man fighters?
No. So Mega Man. Actually, no. Wait, maybe they did, but I don't know whether they did both of them.
I know there's 2, right?
Yep, I had both of them on an arcade board. So yeah, they could do that Saturday Night Slam Masters, but I think that's in like the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle. But yeah, like there's so many Capcom properties that are still left on the table,
and you're not likely to see Capcom doing anything with Ark's stuff because of this. But you could see. Who's to say that they could do a another collaboration with somebody else? They haven't do it with Koei. They could get like a DOA with Capcom or who else is there?
The Dungeons and Dragons games are still on Steam. I mean, you could port that, like those 2 games. You could port
who is it that owns Bloody Roar? There are other
Bloody Roar was Capcom, and that's.
Are you sure it was Capcom? I don't think it was.
Yeah, that's in the beat 'em up. That's in the first fighting collection.
Yep.
Is it?
So yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
So yeah,
So then-
like there are things that Capcom could do. It's just how much money is this going to cost? Are the sales there? I mean, because for the fighting game community, we got Christmas, but what are you going to give us for our birthday?
I guess the other option, the one that would be the simplest to go to would be another SNK Capcom fighter, like a brand new ground up one, because they're already doing crossovers as it is. So think about what isn't. Well, Terry's already in this, but aren't some of the Street Fighter characters showing up in the new?
Yes.
Yeah.
One. So
yeah, there's a cross.
So don't be surprised if that's their next project is a full blown SNK Capcom again.
Yeah, I want them to finish out some of their older stuff. I mean, one thing that's never been ported outside of the Super Nintendo was Alien versus Predator. And considering Alien versus Predator Earth, that
just
could be
overall
a nice thing.
like new Capcom collections that aren't just fighters. Yeah.
Right. There are options for them to do. Like I said, I would do Dungeons and Dragons Shadow over Mystara. So that's 2 games.
It's
could do Alien versus Predator.
Mind some of those PSP things. Like it's time to bring Mega Man Power Up and X Maverick over.
That would be nice too. Yeah, like there's so many things they could do. Mega Man Powered Up would be fucking awesome because the engine is there and they could do Mega Man Powered Up 2 and it wouldn't be that much work, all things considered.
And probably a better chance of getting that than getting Legends off the ground because RPGs are more resource.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you want to port, Tron Bon and just make it work. Whatever, but still, yeah, like there are options, and I hope Capcom takes this because I think if they go back and mine their old IPs and put them on collections, people like me will buy them. You'll get people interested in these old IPs. People will buy them, and that's how you get people excited. That's how you show you care about your community. I think Capcom could be a real leader
Juggernaut
in this space. Yeah, like because Konami did. I hate to say this out loud, but they kind of blew their wad when they put out the Cowabunga collection a couple years ago because that's every important Turtles game outside of like the 2003 stuff forward, which is again fine.
I guess they could do if they have the rights, or they could get them. They could do the trilogy of GameCube, right?
Yeah, like you could do that. You could do TMNT Smash Up. You could do some stuff from the 2009 movie, some stuff from the 2012 stuff, which some of it was kind of bad, but some of it was kind of it was fine. It just wasn't anything wowzers. And, there are things you could do with the IP. So, yeah, like collections, I think, is the real way to go for modern gaming. I really like this.
Yep.
Yeah. And one honorable mention, one thing we didn't see, and then I'll shut the fuck up. I promise you. Kind of surprised, especially now with mouse support and considering how powerful the Switch 2 is. Kind of surprised they didn't say, "Oh, by the way, Baldur's Gate 3 coming out on Switch 2. See you in September."
They're probably in the process of working out trying to get it to run on Switch 2.
I hope so.
The game's 100 gigs, so it's. I think if they can get it,
they're working.
I feel like if they can get
sure
it to fit on a game cart, an actual 64 gig cart, they'll do it.
Yeah,
I feel like that's.
Yeah.
They're not a company that's going to want
compromise
have the ire of people being like, "Oh, it's just a code in a box." That's not because remember they made a big stink about when they released their physical editions. Remember how they said that they were coming on 2 discs so they can include the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah,
if Larian can get it to run on Switch 2 at a compressed down to 64 gigs, they will do it.
Like even if it's like 540p portable, 720p, dock, if it works and they can get it under 64 gigs, they'll do it.
And if it can run at 60 FPS.
Yes. Honestly, even 30.
It should.
It is turn-based, so I would be happy if it just ran.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll go I'll go to mine, then we can go over to you can if there's anything else you want to add, because I know there's just going to be overlap. For me, outside of all the indie stuff I had mentioned on the previous shows, Luminous Arise, I'm happy to get something that isn't just Tetris. The music's already got me hooked. I need games like this that are puzzle based, that make me use my brain, but also let me sort of semi turn myself off, where you can like. I feel like these puzzle games are like Luminous and Tetris are like really good for my blood pressure, even when they get hectic. Just because the music is like puts you in a trance, right? Makes sense because it's the same developers. I'm forgetting the name of the development studio, but it's the same developers that made Rez. And prior to that, I believe he was like a big programmer audio guy with Sega's arcade division back in the 80s and 90s.
I'm pretty sure.
So like this is somebody who's like been in the game for like 40 years, knows his shit, and you can immediately tell like they use their in-house like studio to get the music. It's weird. It sounds like it could be licensed music, but then it never is. It's like all original. So there's
it's all original stuff, which helps with a lot of streamers and stuff.
Oh yeah, like there's no streamer mode because there doesn't need to be. It just works. So I'm happy with that. And again, like how often do we get a puzzle game like I could almost argue more than AA. Like that's basically Tetris Effect and now this are like the only AAA puzzle games that get showcased anymore. So it's nice to see that. And I guess you could almost argue like the Talos Principle or that, but those are indie. Like as far as something that's coming out from like major studios, we don't really get puzzle games anymore. So I'm happy to see that. Felt that we already talked about. That's high on my list. Out of Words. That is the one that looks like stop motion claymation, but done in the same style as It Takes Two and Split Fiction. So co-op using gravity as sort of like I guess their big hook. I know there was another one that somebody else showed off. Was it at the Game Awards? That was also like a It Takes Two sort of thing. I can't remember the name of that, but that's coming out too. So that the idea of the co-op game is back. I'm happy with that. Stranger Than Heaven. That is the new RGG Studio game that it doesn't appear to be connected to Yakuza, but it's using like a similar...
it is completely. This is basically what is going to replace Judgment, because Judgment as a franchise is dead.
Yeah, like Judgment was connected to Yakuza, but tangentially, and it was like they were trying to shoehorn it in, and then there was issues with like the star having
basically his management is a bunch of dinosaurs.
Yeah, like
they had to fight hard to get the PC version of Judgment 2 out.
Is like all I remember hearing was like people were like it's like trying to argue with like with all those like real estate developers that owned all the anime stuff.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'll be happy to see it because it looks to be. They haven't shown much of the engine, like as far as the fighting, but it looks different enough and more dynamic. So it looks like it's built from the ground up for modern consoles too, which is good. And it appears to be taking place over multiple timelines. So I don't believe you're going to be playing as the same person, but the first one was it 1910 they showed, and that was like last year when they previewed it. And now it's like
I believe there's 4 timelines that they said.
Yeah, obviously over the course of a century. That was it was called Project Century before. So I'm happy with seeing that. And then of course, even though that was just a walking sample of Persona 4 Revival, I'll be happy with that.
That's because voice actors leaked it.
Yeah, I'm also a little surprised that it's not ready to go just yet, because I ask, what the fuck has P Studio been doing for 6 years?
This is probably the same team that did P3 Remake.
Yeah, okay, then what the hell have they been doing? Because the other team was doing Metaphor. What has the main team been doing? Like
Persona 6 is what they've been doing. But apparently
the rumors have been that they're not even far into development of that. So it's like, what have they been doing? Well, I don't know. Like I'm kind of getting sick of all the Persona 5 spin-offs too. Like we've seen it. We're done. I know that they announced that we're getting like the one that was the gotcha game from China, and it's like, who knows if it's going to be any good.
Well, also it's the gotcha game minus with all the microtransactions stripped the fuck.
Yeah, so I mean that's going to be fine, and we'll get some more fun time with that. But yeah, that was, I was just very happy to see that there is an engine and it's running, and it's not just a title that they threw up. So that's good. My honorable mention that I wanted to say was the Clockwork Revolution, and in its place, I'm going to put that I'm already hyped for Outer Worlds 2, but I wanted to keep my stuff to mostly new, like brand new announcements. And the things I didn't see that I was surprised at: no FF9 remake.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
at this point,
we all know it's coming.
Yeah, at this point, it's got to be pointing towards Nintendo Direct. Like,
yeah, it has to be a Nintendo announcement.
If it wasn't a partnership with Sony or Microsoft, it's got to be Nintendo, right? Like, and then no Persona 6, as I mentioned, like this was really the time to announce. This wasn't the time.
They've made a statement after they did the P4 reveal, like they are most likely going to announce it during TGS.
Okay, so that makes sense. If that's the case, then Persona. I just want to know when 4 is coming because it didn't have a date. I would have figured they would have said 2025.
I'm gonna say next year, early next year,
and that means that we're literally between, like, because I'm not going to count Royal because Royal was it was an enhanced version. That means that we are literally like 12 or 13 years between 5 and 6.
To be fair, 5 took 10.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Okay, but still, anyway, I was also surprised that we didn't see anything from BioShock, or was it Lazarus Rising or something? That was the
it was either Ken Levine's Lazarus or whatever the BioShock guys are.
Because both have been in development for like what, almost 8 years, 7 to 8 years at this point. Since they were announced.
Yeah.
And literally nothing. And I could sort of get the reason why BioShock wouldn't have been shown because 2K is entirely focused on GTA and then Mafia. But like nothing, no updates. And Lazarus has been shown a bunch and then nothing. And also, I'll put it in here, same thing. I was really surprised that Exodus wasn't shown with a date because, from the former Mass Effect devs, because they have been doing live gameplay shows of it. They've been doing like podcasts where they discuss it and go in depth. Like they've really ramped up production. Yeah, like I guess they could do it there. Like I would have figured they would have given it a date or at least had a trailer. I'm like, the way that they're presenting their videos is that they're like in the last stretch. So you would have figured something would be ready, but maybe
they probably were going, oh shit, GTA 6 is coming out in the fall. Panic. Yeah. And then when the GTA 6 moved, they were like, okay, we can slow down a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, technically it could be coming to Nintendo. It just doesn't feel like something a Nintendo would show at a Direct, so I don't think we're getting anything till at least the end of the summer. Now, I would laugh incessantly if they dropped their trailer with a release date on N7 Day.
just as a middle finger.
Because there's no way that we're getting a Mass Effect. Like, we might get more key art, but like, at this point, I've given up on the new Mass Effect ever coming out. Because I think that by the time the game's ready to come, that EA won't have BioWare in existence.
I mean, EA... So, the thing is, EA is trying to sell themselves. That has been going around financially. They were trying to sell themselves earlier, and they were like, "You're way too big," and so they've been consolidating stuff.
And they've been using Mass Effect as one of their key lines when they're talking about, assets that the company has when they want to sell. And it's like, I feel like if they reveal it, they're afraid that it might, if it's not taken well, that it might diminish their potential sales. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
They're using BioWare as a bargaining chip, it seems like, in their negotiations. Which at this point, I almost would be like, Sony, just drop Bungie and buy them instead, and see what you can do with them. But beyond that, nothing from KOTOR, which you'd figure that after, was it 3 years now since the project was put back into reproduction with a different studio, they would have something, but nothing. Also, in that same vein,
we might see something at D23 this year.
Same thing with Star Wars Eclipse, from David Cage's whole bullshit, but it's been a long enough time that something more should have been shown because it's still in full production.
I think Disney's mad about all of this shit.
Yeah, they probably didn't think they were signing on to 7 to 9 year development cycle on game. Yeah. And then I put down as sort of a catch-all, nothing from any of the core PlayStation studios at all.
Yep, no Wolverine, no nothing.
Yeah, so we'll see how that all shakes out later on. But that's basically my thoughts, as outside of the cool indie stuff that I talked about previously. What did you have, and anything different on your likes and dislikes or whatever?
The big one from the indie stuff that really stood out, and it's coming very soon in like a couple of weeks, is Everdeep Aurora, and it's very Gato Roboto vibes, just up the ante of Gato Roboto in terms of its pixel art and its design, and it's totally different devs, but it very much gives off that vibe. And it, the demo's out now. Demo will probably stay up past Next Fest because the game's coming out on July 10th, so in 3 weeks. So
there you go, right there.
and that'll get ported to everything eventually, probably in the fall. And in terms of other stuff that we didn't touch upon, I'm really happy to see Super Meat Boy is continuing with Super Meat Boy 3D.
That was a genuine surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it's Super Meat Boy world. That's what it is. And I'm super excited for that. And other than that, a lot of the indie stuff, it's there's some cool little indie stuff that popped up here and there, but it was not something that I would necessarily say, okay, cool. A lot of them are just coming to Steam for now, and I don't necessarily think that some of the big ones are going to necessarily come to consoles in a timely fashion.
Or if they do, it's probably Switch 2 and they just, didn't have time to announce it, seeing as everything with the Switch 2 was felt like it was pushed back and then still rushed.
Yeah, I think it's probably because Nintendo... The whole rumor is that Nintendo didn't send dev kits out until 3 or 4 weeks before the console launch to anyone besides
the major partners that we saw, like Sega and everybody.
Yeah. So, another big highlight was Sonic Racing looks
amazing.
That looks fun. That looks really fun.
Right, yeah. And with they're having guest characters, and they didn't reveal everything, but they said I think it's every month leading up to its release, they're going to reveal multiple characters. So there's going to be
the leaks have said there's a lot.
What was it? A bunch of stuff from Nicktoons.
Yep.
And speaking of, briefly to break in, during all this, we found out more about Tony Hawk, right? So that I know that got you hyped, Mike. I know you went and watched right away.
Oh yeah, I went and watched right away. I played the demo a few times. My muscle memory's not there. It'll come back. I'm looking forward to this. I really hope our PR rep sends us the full game super early.
You got BAM's back. The music seems to be licensed and back in there. Plus you got Mikey from the TMNT in there. They're putting pearls in everything.
Randomly. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I may even get this across multiple consoles sort of thing. I love the Tony Hawk games. 3 and 4 were my babies. it's funny.
Yeah.
I actually messaged one of my once upon a time, me and my girlfriend Amanda used to play Tony Hawk 3 and 4 a lot when we were together in the early 2000s. So when I saw the trailer, I immediately sent it to her. I'm thinking, yo, check this out. And she's like, holy shit, this brings back so many memories. I'm like, are you gonna pre-order? She's like, fuck yes, I am. So that's pretty fucking awesome. Now I would kick her ass, but she learned pretty quick. She wasn't half bad as she got better over time. But still, yeah, I'm looking forward to this in a stupid way.
And in terms of stuff we didn't see, I'm shocked, but not shocked at the same time that Switch 2's existence was not heavily a part of all of this stuff. Like, there was no anything.
It was quiet.
I think the only thing that was shown. Okay, somebody might go back and contact us and be like, "Oh, there was more." I think was Tony Hawk the only one that showed a Switch 2 logo.
I think there might have been one or two other things, but I can't recall much, if anything, at all.
In terms of the big stuff, yeah.
I was going to say from like major publishers, I think it was literally just Microsoft publishing on Switch 2 was the only thing they really showed.
And they've made statements that they're gonna port stuff to Switch 2, but like right now, Ever Deeper Roar is coming to Switch. I just literally saw the Switch logo on one of the trailers.
Okay, so there's that
background.
But you know what I mean? Like I was thinking from all the other major stuff, like you would think they would have a there. And when you think about it, they remember Switch 2 was like a sponsor on Jeff's page.
Yeah. And it was just a single ad.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a single ad. And you know how he announced it was like Wave 1 sponsor? He never announced Wave 2, where in previous years he had 2 or 3. I wonder if he had expected to have more people involved than were, because there were some companies that were just completely absent. But like, I think we've sort of pretty much covered all the big things that we were surprised not to see. Like, there's other stuff that, you know, we would have liked to have seen, but probably weren't expecting, right? So we're not really including those. But like, I think we were expecting to see pretty much everything that we talked about that didn't show up. If there was anything else, I would have thought that we would have seen more of that Darksiders game that was announced. Like, there was really no presence. And I know that Embracer's basically falling apart. They've done a whole bunch of creative accounting to split themselves up and change things around, but there was nothing from any of their games that were already in production, that were well into production, that were like, where was that last Ronin game? The TMNT one.
Yeah.
Where that's apparently like that was supposed to be on their slate for release, right?
Yeah, but also to be fair, Paramount is in flux because they're trying to merge with Skydance.
Yeah.
So.
And also there was nothing from that. Was it? I know they canceled the one Black Panther game, but there was nothing from the Captain America game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've already said that they're not gonna. They made a statement. They're not gonna hit their holiday target for this year, so it's coming next year.
Yeah, and they'll probably wait a whole year.
So they said we'll probably show something by the end of the year, which tells me Gamescom. But other than that, they're not hitting this holiday, so they were like, "Yeah, sorry, guys."
Nothing from Arcane's Blade either, which you'd figure would have something. But again,
it's early enough that
there was very little from most of the. Yeah, there was very little from anything from Sony Studios, and very little from most of the Microsoft studios. Nintendo, we kind of didn't expect, because they're going to do their stuff in due time. They've already shown a lot of what they have for the year. There's still rumors of
as of this
more
recording,
game.
They announced a Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct.
Yeah, it was a 15-minute Direct in a few days, and that's going to be, I played the game. It's fantastic, but like I guess for other people it'll be interesting, but I don't know what else they can really show. Like I guess maybe announcing a demo drop would be nice, because it would be technically the first game that's not available at launch, the first party that could benefit from a demo.
Yep.
But I don't know if they're
and
gonna do it.
then the rumor is they're going to drop more DK costumes for Mario Kart World because DK has a single costume for Mario Kart World,
And it's a DK
which is
direct,
really dumb.
and I know that they're entirely focusing on it, but that they could put a DK game or two. Wasn't there a GameCube game they could throw onto the GameCube service maybe for it? Was it one of the drum ones or something?
Yeah, it's one of the rhythm ones.
They could do something like that, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, at least at the moment. And it was a fairly mediocre. There were some highlights, obviously, that we talked about previously, but I think the state of gaming is we're still sort of waiting for big game from a lot of people. Obviously, Nintendo is going to have more big stuff, I think, because it's the beginning of a console. But we are kind of like, we're halfway through the console generation and with the others, and we're still like at 20% of the games we thought we'd have.
Yep.
So I guess that's going to do it.
Thank you, pandemic.
Thank
That's
you,
all I have to
pandemic.
say to that.
Thank you, ever higher ballooning budgets and expectations for, open world bullshit. Like
We must grow. We must have infinite growth.
if it wasn't for like
Bullshit.
Obsidian, Xbox would have almost nothing for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't
that's
for some of the smaller projects, I say smaller in quotes, but like Astro, Sony would have had very little in the last couple of years as well. So we'll see. Hopefully there's more stuff from the bigger studios later on in the year or next year, but I feel like at least with the Nintendo Switch, we're probably going to have, a lot of interesting things to play for the next few months until some of the bigger games can maybe get announced. And who knows, maybe some of the things we talked about that we didn't see will get surprise reveals at Nintendo Directs because they're having hardware that can actually play a lot of the modern stuff now. There's no reason why a Final Fantasy IX remake wouldn't be able to be played on Switch 2, considering they're getting, they've already said that they're working on porting Final Fantasy VII over to it. So,
Yep.
That
And
could happen.
and that should be this holiday at some point.
Exactly. So, I guess from all of us here at This Week in Geek, that's been our prototype discussion on the longest week of the year for us, which is Summer Games Fest, especially with the Nintendo Switch release. We will have plenty more to come with our coverage of probably Gamescom, probably other. We'll have some pop-up episodes here and there whenever like a new major direct comes out. We won't do the Nintendo Direct for the Donkey Kong because it's just a one-game direct. That'll be on the regular show, but there's plenty more coming. Say goodbye, everybody.
Yep.
Goodbye, everybody.
Yep, bye, everybody. I guess before we get out of here, just to share some kind of programming notes.
Sure.
As we are starting to wind down for our summer break, there's going to be a lot of pre-recorded stuff coming from probably July 1st until probably September. But I'm recording, at least with Ken and a few other guys. If anything interesting, newsworthy happens, me and Alex will pop back for a pop-up episode. Reviews are still going to be processed, so you'll still have plenty of turtle treasures during the summer. This week is Free RPG Day, I believe, on Saturday. So I'm going to have a couple interviews that'll be coming out with some people that I work with over on Star Trek Adventures. Plus, I'm going to preview some of the things that are coming from the Free RPG Day people. I'm going to say this: you should absolutely be going out to some of the events. There's a really cool game that's built in this year with QR codes that I think is really neat. So I'll talk a little bit about that on Saturday. And like I said, I'll have an interview with Alex Bader and Jim Johnson available on the site this week. And then, me and Ken and a few others will begin our Lord of the Rings special for Loose Cannon. And you should get one of those every week or every 2 weeks on the site beginning in July. So keep a lookout for that. And more rams and other nonsense as time goes on. So that's what I have from me. So I guess for everybody here, we're going to get the hell out of here. We've got more stuff to record. I'm tired. So for all of us, and as they said, goodbye, everybody. We'll catch you guys next time right here on thisweekingeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.